Welcome in. Another episode of the Dropkick Basement. Coming at you here. My name is Mike Madden. On my side of things, my tag team partner, Tom Schultz. On the other end of the tag rope, Tommy, how are things in the middle of the summertime here?
Summer's going good. We got a lot of high-profile wrestling coming up, which is
Sure.
very fun to look forward to. And so, it's coming along.
It is. Well, like a house under reconstruction or a piece of art. It is certainly coming along. Lots to sort of like kind of think about as we're getting into the before we get into the episode officially. I do want to say I watched Dark Side of the Ring, the episode that aired as of this recording that aired last night, which was Necro Butcher and Samoa Joe, and they broke down the match and everything that led to it. And I was like, seems oddly familiar as to like the source material. Like there was a lot of points that they made on that you covered when we did the your favorite indie matches that we created the list for. So did you get a chance to see Dark Side yet?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay.
I saw that it hit YouTube today. So probably after we're done recording today, I'll get a chance to check it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't wait to watch it because honestly, so aside from how much I'm looking forward to that episode based on how much I love that match and like kind of getting the behind the scenes of where those two guys were at the moment, I want to say that the 3-part TNA episode that they did was incredible.
It was
one of
so
the best
good.
things they've done in such a long time.
Yeah, it was. And from what I understand, I did listen to one of the interviews that the creators of the show did. Their original thought was, we're just going to do like almost like a standalone Jeff Jarrett, like a 2-hour special for Jeff Jarrett, and and the history of TNA.
Yeah, and
that just got chopped up into the 3 episodes, but it was compelling. There's a lot of like truthful stuff in there. I'm sure, if Hogan was alive, Hogan would probably debunk a lot of the things that they mentioned about his stint in TNA. Because he's a rascal when it comes to that shit. But it really covered like, the very beginnings of it. Plus, and I did like that they gave enough time to Jeff's career before TNA started, and not just said like, let's just fast forward to, here's Jeff Jarrett, free agent, and he's ready to start his own company. So there was enough background and then enough candid stuff too in there that was kind of, it's your typical Dark Side of the Ring where it just sort of like, it kind of pulls on your heartstrings and makes you kind of second guess like, oh, what kind of guy really was he? But yeah, that was really well done. Getting back to the Necro Butcher and Joe episode, you're really going to like the talking heads on this one.
Okay.
Unique guys. Let's just put it that way. Like
who do we got?
So Eddie Kingston is part of it.
Okay.
Because he was there for commentary.
On commentary.
Dave Prazak, who I'm shocked that they haven't used Dave Prazak for this series before.
Yeah, I mean,
he knows a lot, and he's been part of a lot of these, especially like the stories of the 2000s and guys that were in and out of the indies.
Well,
like,
yeah, that's true.
He would have been great for like the New Jack episode. He would have been great for, some of the stuff that they did for CZW, obviously being part of that company and in and out of it as well. So certainly like it was a surprise, and it's kind of like, all right, now you're thinking outside of the box, and it's not just, your Dutch Mantels that are telling the story or some family member, that nobody's ever going to hear from again. Like this was good getting Prazak, Rob Naylor, who I enjoy a great deal.
Hilarious
of everything that he does. Those videos that are on the
name dropped about 20 times during that match.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like that. That's the cool part, is that they really dug a few, of the indie names and faces that are behind the scenes guys.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really well done. Get a chance to take a look at it. The other thing is I did start to watch Unreal.
I have not yet.
I almost want to tell you not to. This thing really has got like, they have a boner for themselves.
So
WWE.
From the things that I'm reading online is like the first season they didn't know where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
And how they were going to present this.
Yeah.
And now that we're on like season 3 or 4, they're probably self-aware.
I think they're writing their television to like cater to this show.
And not only that, but like almost it's now like, instead of it being a reality show about, the business, it's now a play on a reality show about the business. Yeah. It's a scripted reality show.
As any good reality show is, it is scripted to the hilt, and they've got their it emphasizes what a lot of fans think about WWE at the moment, where it's like, we care about 7 people on this roster, and you are going to see those 7 people over and over and over again in your main events, in your builds, in your media days around the big events, and in any way that we can tell you that here's the stars of our show, and then there's 150 other people that we could be using and we could be showcasing on this, that you're not going to learn a goddamn thing about them.
Yeah, of course not.
So yeah, I got through 2 or 3 episodes, and I was like, I got to take a break from this company again. Like, the record never changes, and Seth Rollins just annoys me so much. I just want to be completely transparent about it.
Well, I think that's how most people feel.
Yeah. Enough with this guy. So, cleanse the palate. Let's get into the episode. Today we're bringing back the Dream Team, and we are discussing the Dream Team of pro wrestling trainers or pro wrestling training schools. Most of these are going to be individuals that got men and women ready for pro wrestling. Some of them are, as I mentioned, some of them are schools because they've basically either been the finishing before somebody got up to TV, or they've been kind of the breeding ground for soup to nuts. Like, let's get you trained in pro wrestling and ready to be a megastar. So, as is usual with the Dream Team, we've got 12 slots on the board. The top 5 are the 5 most important, in our opinion, on the wrestling trainers. And I'm ready to go whenever you're ready to go, Tom. So why don't you kick us off at the top of the list? Number 12.
All right. So at number 12, the first seat on the bench, if you will, we have it's a split between 2 guys who, in the mid to late 90s up until the early 2000s, were responsible for the majority of anyone coming into the WWE. Mm-hmm. And that would be Dory Funk Jr. and Dr. Tom Pritchard.
Yep.
The Funkin' Dojo and whatever Tom Pritchard's collective school was called, prepared some of the biggest stars of the late 90s for their ascension into WWE, like The Rock, Kurt Angle, had finishing the finishing touches on guys like the Hardys, Edge and Christian.
Yes, yeah. Pal Penis,
Test.
Yes.
Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And 2 guys that, I mean, Dory Funk is a certified. I think he's still wrestling today, which is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, he did. He had a match last year in All Japan, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. All-time legend. Dr. Tom, a very underrated in-ring.
One of, yeah.
very underrated in-ring guy. I think he gets a little poo-pooed because of the nepotism he may have received
Maybe.
from the position his brother was in WWE.
I guess, yeah.
In terms of getting this covet, because you have to look at it, the coveted spot of being the guy to prepare these guys. This is gonna, help you in the long run, and it's gonna secure you a job for forever, regardless of, whether or not you can still go. But yeah, two valuable hands for preparing. I mean, some of the all-time greats.
So yeah, Dr. Tom, like they had started this up and they had basically kind of graduated him to a trainer right after the Body Donnas kind of stopped. I mean, he was still on the road with WWE, like he was still like doing prelim matches, but it was mostly with these guys that he was setting the training for. So he's the one that has, on like house shows, he'll have the match with The Rock or Rocky Maivia at the time, or he's going to have a match with Edge to get him ready just before they get on TV. So whether it's a dark match or a house show, like he's still there to guide them through interacting with the live crowd. But in that sense of like splitting duties with Dory, I think it was more or less like Tom was your road agent, like, or your road manager. Yeah. If we're putting in a Rock terms. And Dory's more or less the guy when you're off the road and you need to get your reps in during the week. He's putting you through the drills and giving you the little things, teaching guys submissions, teaching guys to use their bodies in certain ways. But yeah, I mean, when you think about like Attitude Era standouts, you got a bunch that came out of, or post Attitude Era as well. The guys that are still working today, that can say that they went through Dr. Tom and Dory's doors. So yeah, that's definitely one that should be mentioned.
And they're like they were the two important figures before there was a solidified developmental system.
True.
So it's like these are two guys that we trust who. I mean, I believe Tom Pritchard was employed by them, but like Dory Funk Jr. was not necessarily employed by the WWE, but he was a guy that they entrusted with making sure that the guys they have under contract are ready to go.
They're shined up. Yeah.
When the time comes.
Yeah. And let's not take away the fact that like in addition, like in the 70s when they're running the territory in Amarillo and Dory Jr.'s got a chance to like work with like Dick Slater to train him for wrestling. And I think he had a little bit of a hand in Bob Orton Jr. So like, yeah, you got a little bit of that sort of, there's always somebody on a shoot interview that's going to be like, and I spent like 2 months working out with Dory Jr., down in Amarillo or down in Florida, wherever he had been stationed at the time. So like, yeah, there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of kind of good training that floated in and out of the Funkin' Dojo. Dr. Tom did also he did end up with, I think, both OVW and FCW as a trainer. So
and now he still has a school,
and he's with
fucking Kane, which I don't know how much you're going to learn from him.
How to do this with your arms and stand. And cock your head when you have a mask on. Wrestle big man style.
Well, he's out kissing babies to try and be reelected for whatever he
Mayor
is.
of Podunk City.
Tom Pritchard is doing the heavy lifting at their school.
Yeah, arm drag, get it again. So the next guy that we've got on the list, another legendary name. This one, you kind of got to go back to the late 70s, early 80s. Minnesota training school, Eddie Sharkey.
Yep.
He was a prelim wrestler in and around the AWA, and kind of like that, maybe the Dick the Bruiser's old territory, maybe. But he's, again, got a laundry list, and specifically speaking, like guys that lived in and around the Minnesota area in the early part of the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. He helped train Bob Backlund, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
But you also have the Road Warriors, Crusher Khrushchev, who was Demolition Smash, Jesse Ventura, Ravishing Rick Rude, Nikita Koloff, Rick Steiner, and Jerry Lynn. I think Jerry Lynn was one of his last, before he actually closed shop on his training school. Jerry Lynn might have been one of his last students. But when you're talking about, like, and that's like, you're painting that picture and you're like, wow, look at these body guys, big muscle guys. They all hung out together. They all went to the gym together. And then they found Eddie Sharkey through like their connections at the, I guess he had been a bouncer at the Grandma B's bar that they all talk about. And he was like, yep, I'll train you guys and get you ready for pro wrestling and make calls and find people that will take you and put through, in their company. So, not really I think this is more quantity over quality. Because when you look at, nobody says that Jesse Ventura is a good worker. Jesse Ventura is a great talker, not a good worker. Nikita Koloff was, good in spots. Road Warriors always had their if they had the right opponent. I would say like Rude, above average. Bob Backlund, certainly way above average. And somebody like Jerry Lynn is unique to like, one of the only high flyers, I guess, that Sharkey had a hand in training. But yeah, that's an interesting crew when I think about it, from the Ed Sharkey tree.
And the thing is, like you said, they may not be the best in the ring, but look at the careers that those guys have.
Oh yeah.
And they would all attribute it to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their beginnings come from what they learned from Eddie Sharkey. So although they may not be the best overall in-ring workers, he played a part in some of the biggest names in the industry.
I agree. Yeah. And that's, again, that's why we think about him on this list and would put him in there, because they're main event. Like, everybody on that list is a main eventer.
Yeah.
He he's not rolling out a bunch of job guys. So, but yeah, he's an interesting addition to it. Who do we got next?
Next, we have, coming out of the New England area, Killer Kowalski.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Kowalski, WWF guy?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Trained, the guy that we all know and love. The mind behind Unreal.
You have Mr. Unreal himself, Paul Levesque.
Helmsley.
Paul Triple H Levesque.
Along with, names like China,
mm-hmm. Yep.
Big John Studd, Harry Saturn, had a hand in Tommaso Ciampa, a guy that's going now. Mm-hmm. Again, some of those guys, Saturn, Ciampa, they can go.
Yeah.
Triple H, if motivated or on the right supplements. But again, you have to look at the name value that he brought in.
Of course.
To the business. And when you have that associated with you, it's, literally the most powerful guy in the business at the moment is from
Walter's tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also interesting. I mentioned this with Eddie Sharkey, that there really isn't a jobber in his stable of guys that he trained. I'm sure he did, but I know that
there are.
But Kowalski in particular was a trainer of job guys. Like he would, again, I think he would hire out talent, and then when the WWF needed them for TV tapings, like he would say, all right, if you're in Boston or if you're in the New England area, here's the trainees and here's how long they've been in the ring, and I'll set you up with guys that you can use for television. You can use as job guys on TV. So that was kind of like his bridge over to the WWF. So if you probably go through all of his records, there's probably a Pete Doherty or a Pablo Sanchez or whatever, all these like ridiculous job guys that were probably around in the 80s and 90s that Walter also trained. So and he ran a promotion too. That's the other thing is that he had an indie in the 90s and the early 2000s.
So Chaotic, I think it's called.
Yeah, and that also, like, again, when you talk about, like, I think that's really, like, Ciampa says that's he worked for that promotion and he, like, built his way up in that promotion, which got him seen by, the rest of the Northeast and eventually Ring of Honor and his travasses around the rest of the country. So that's another important thing. Like some of these guys and some of these schools that we're going to talk about is their connection to independent promotions and running those independent promotions to a sense where it's respectable to say, well, I'm a Kowalski guy because I've gotten, here's who he graduated to the big shows and the main events, but I'm getting my start and I'm working for his promotion. So that's kind of a cool element to think about when we're going through some of the guys on this list. So props to him. Next on the list, at number 9, we've got Afa Anawahe, Afa the Wild Samoan. His school, another one that's Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Based, or it was Pennsylvania based. I don't think he runs it anymore. Maybe some family member does. But the list of his students include Dave Bautista, Billy Kidman came out of his school, Yokozuna, member of his family, Chris Kanyon, which I found surprising, Flyboy Rocco Rock, Michael P.S. Hayes. And I think I'm a little leery of that. I think he probably went to Afa at some point, like when they were working in Georgia together, and he might have said, like, all right, well, show me a couple things. And then he's like, I got trained by Afa. And it's like, okay, you were 16 years old and you started wrestling. So, and then Virgil, of course, his star pupil, Soul Train Jones himself.
I mean, that should propel him to number 1 on this list, but
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters here, but I think he fits as a 9. He's very similar to Kowalski in that they had a promotion that was booked by Afa, and that they would have WWF talent, especially in the 2000s when Afa was there as a manager for the Head Shrinkers. He had WWF talent when they weren't running house shows. They would be booked on his cards, or guys that were just on their way in. They would get a look-see from Afa to work in front of the crowds. Again, a lot of pre-developmental inroads that are being made here. I do think he probably had some hand in training everybody in that bloodline, from the Usos to Roman to Tama to whoever it is. He probably, because of the family that they had and how sort of overreaching it was. But yeah, that he's an interesting one. I think a lot of the credit for Batista getting looked at by WWF, because I think the story was that Batista had also gone out to had applied to the power plant, and he was going to start training in WCW. But I think Afa steered him in the direction and said you should go to WWF and go to OVW and learn in OVW. So yeah, I mean, kind of a prize student in that sense.
100%. And the WXW promotion that he ran was one of the bigger independent promotions in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Had television. Would get guys that typically wouldn't get. I mean, we're not talking about like syndicated TV, but we're talking about local TV that gets guys in the ring and ready to be in front of a camera.
Right.
So that's a big part in some of the people that we're going to talk about on this list is not only the schools that they had, but the promotions that they had associated. Of course, that really is the key factor in where they may, place on this list is, it may not be the one person that's training you in the ring, but the overall machine that you have behind you
True.
really, plays a factor in people being ready for television wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And you're right. I think that's important to say. A syndicated TV show kind of goes a long way in, especially if you talk about guys that were trained in the late 90s, early 2000s, where, you don't have to work in 100 territories before you get seen. All you have to do is make an impact on television, and they're going to say, he's a star, she's a star, put them on television right now. So,
and if traveling the indies, it doesn't make for the best training, I guess, for being on television, because you're never telling a continuous story for the most part.
Yes.
You're wrestling in a bunch of different promotions all across the country,
different
against
size
a
crowds,
bunch of different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's never, and if you're wrestling for the same promotion, it's maybe once a month. But when you have these places that can give you a weekly TV show, no matter how many people are seeing it, you learn the storytelling aspect aside from the in-ring product.
Right. Much agreed. All right. Hit me with our number 8.
Number 8. This is a school, but the main driving factor behind this school, the Monster Factory, Larry Sharp's Monster Factory. Literally one of the biggest names to come out of wrestling. The Big Show, Paul White, the Giant, Bam Bam Bigelow, Chris Candido, D'Lo Brown, Raven. The list goes on and on. But a legendary job guy.
Oh, Larry Sharp himself.
Larry Sharp himself. Putting together this school that was kind of an unofficial developmental territory for the big promotions in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. He's an interesting one. That the famous article that was written in Sports Illustrated in 1985 was on the sport of wrestling, but it also featured like a side panel article about the Monster Factory and had Larry next to Bam Bam Bigelow, because Bam Bam Bigelow was in, if you're talking 85 and 86, he was. There were so many like either national newspapers or local newspapers that had some kind of picture of Bigelow in there, because he cut such an image with the flame tattoos on his heads and the missing teeth. Everything was just like, this guy is a pro wrestler, right? The Monster Factory got written up there. That was featured on like news magazine shows. Larry was not shy about self-promoting. So he was Bigelow's manager in Memphis and in Florida for a little while. Obviously, like, as much as, you could make an argument that like Raven, Candido, Big Show, Damian Priest was also part of the Monster Factory. Cliff Compton, Bigelow he's the poster boy for Monster Factory, and got a lot of like attention towards it, to a point where, like, I think as the story goes, I think Larry Sharp had like stopped enrollment after a while, because he was getting flooded with so many local guys, like bartenders, bouncers, bodybuilders, that just wanted to come and train and get in, because they thought they would just be on, in magazines and in newspapers right away because of Bigelow. That was his route to it. I think he shut down training in the 90s for a little while, just because he was getting flooded with that stuff. So he's an interesting addition to this, and certainly something, like, I think if you mention, hey, training schools, pro wrestling fans will say Monster Factory absolutely has to be part of the conversation. So
it's got to be in terms of a standalone school, it's got to be in the top 3 to 5
Yeah.
schools of all time.
True. Where is it though? Where in New Jersey?
That's a good question. Let me look that up. I want to say it's by the I thought it was by the Philadelphia area, but maybe I'm
Okay,
wrong.
maybe like a South Jersey.
Monster Factory.
Well, while you look that up, let me talk about the
Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Paulsboro. Okay, all right.
Which I don't know where that is.
Not in our area, but yes,
No.
I would say I would say that's south. But yeah, very interesting. Very and again, like I said, it's if you go on YouTube, you could probably find some of those like PM magazines or Entertainment Tonight's from like 84 and 85 that show, Larry and Bigelow palling around and guys doing bumps in the ring. So number 7 on our list, we go international for this one. And this is Ultimo Dragon as a trainer. We've talked on this podcast a few times about the Toramon promotion that he ran as kind of a, training school, independent wrestling federation through the 2000s. When he really slowed down his in-ring after a number of injuries and that brief stint with WWE. He might have had it before. Probably had it before then, right? Like I want to say, if he started it, it would have been after WCW.
Yeah, because I feel like he kind of phased out and wasn't really a part of WCW towards the end.
Oh,
and
for sure he wasn't.
Didn't come into WWE until like 2003.
Yeah, 2003 or 4. Yeah,
there's probably like a 5-year gap in between like his big WCW run and
where he's getting
where he's back in the limelight.
Well, yeah, and some of the students, Kazuchika Okada, trained by Dragon, Taji Ishimori, Naroki Doi, also trained by him, Tokyo Magnum, Shima, Milano Collection AT. So yeah, you've got you talk about super workers in usually the cruiser junior heavyweight style is his bread and butter, and Okada could technically be that aside from the fact that he's a very tall man. But he gets a lot of Dragon gets a lot of love because he he ran a strict school, so it was a dojo in real essence. So you're staying there just like the New Japan dojo would have been. You're staying in the training facilities. You're setting up the ring every day. You're cleaning. You're cooking for all the boys that are in the camp. You're getting to work out with or in front of one of the best in-ring workers of his time, and you're developing characters at the same time. So you've got guys that have not just the flashy in-ring and that high-flying style and that high-impact style, but you've got guys that are, they're blending lucha in the training. They're blending traditional strong style New Japan or All Japan, like that heavy hitting and submission wrestling. So it's really it's a testament because as we've kind of said over and over, a lot of the guys that graduated from his facilities and his camps and promotions will still sing his praises as he was the ultimate teacher and was hands-on with training and not necessarily a guy that was just put his name on the door and signed your check at the end of the day and took a picture with you when you're ready to graduate. Yeah. He was there in the trenches. So big props to Ultimo Dragon for his work in training that style and that generation for such a long time.
And coming out of that dojo and coming out of the Torimon, the Dragon Gate promotion is pretty much a spawn of all of his trainees, which for a short period of time in the late 2000s was probably the number 2 Japanese promotion.
And a lot of times it was holding Japan up by itself when you talk about work rate.
Oh, 100%. That was I mean, New Japan is always going to be the top dog, but at that time, New Japan was kind of in the gutter. It wasn't. It was right before the ascension that we
Yes.
saw.
Yes.
Of like all the great stuff that was coming out of there.
Mhm.
So Dragon Gate kind of bridged the gap to the style that New Japan kind of took on after they moved to like running US shows and shit like that.
Sure. Yeah. And still like having satellite dojos or satellite promotions in the United States where Ultimo Dragon would come and he would do seminars and scout guys that were applying and everything. So yeah, very much a kind of a lead from the front trainer and promoter or sensei, however you want to line it up and shine it up. He certainly deserves to be on a list like this. And we got one more guy for the bench. Who do you got?
The bench, the sixth man. He's coming right off the bench if we need him.
Do 600 Hindu squats and get off the bench.
Do 600 Hindu squats in a barn in 10-degree weather. The promoter of the AWA, Vern Gagne.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guy trained Ric Flair. You could probably stop there and he'd make the list.
Yeah.
But was solely responsible for a majority of the homegrown AWA talent, and as we mentioned, the promotion behind the training machine is just as important as the trainer itself. And when you look at the promotions that some of these guys started, I would say arguably the AWA was the most successful.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny to say that Vern had a training school in as much as he had almost like a recruitment camp.
Yeah.
That he would run once a year. And then it's like, and it's during the winter. It's in Minnesota. It's freezing cold. He still has to book his promotion and run I think at that time you could call it the second biggest promotion in the United States. Sometimes even the first biggest promotion in the United States. And deal with guys coming in and coming out and all that stuff. So to still have the presence of mind to say like, well, I'm going to run these, month-long camps in preparation to scout new talent. And not just, and here's another thing to really think about is Vern's doing this with amateur athletes.
Yes.
That he recruited from local colleges and high schools. So not only is he training pro wrestlers, he's training amateur wrestlers and future Olympians as part of this camp. Like maybe not saying like, well, and I think he probably sponsored a couple guys to go to the Olympics. I think Brad Rangens was sponsored by Vern to go to the Olympics, but we didn't compete in 1980. So if he was in the Olympics, maybe in 84, I'd have to do my research and figure that out. But that's the other element to it. Like he's not just training the pro style. He's also giving the amateurs a run for their money and saying like, hey, come in and tie up with these guys. Ken Patera, Olympian in powerlifting. He goes through that camp. Steamboat's going through that camp.
Steamboat.
Sheiky Baby, another one who had history in the Pan Am Games and could have been an Olympian in another light. So yeah, there's a lot of talent. Jim Brunzell, his own dopey ass son, Greg Gagne. A lot of guys came in and out of that scene. And again, if they hit and they connect and they don't quit, then Vern's like, we're going to put you on my television and you're going to start low, but you're going to have a place to grow with it. And he trusted that he could get those guys ready. And then on television, once they became legitimate and they were stars every week on TV, this guy's trained by Vern Gagne. This guy went through Vern Gagne's camp, hard-nosed rugged camp that you went through. So like the emphasis was always put on showing, telling, but not necessarily showing the camp life. But certainly, Vern deserves a lot of credit for there being a lot of main event guys that came through his doors.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, very good. All right, now we're getting to our starters. The nitty gritty. Starting five. We're going to start off hot. Starting five. A guy that didn't train. He doesn't have a lot of names on his docket, but I think for main event marquee talent, it's going to be hard to top this. Hiro Matsuda.
Yep.
Who trained and worked as the trainer for Eddie Graham's promotion in Florida Championship Wrestling. Or Championship Wrestling from Florida, however you want to, whatever incarnation that you want to call it. But Hulk Hogan, famously trained by Matsuda. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, also trained. Lex Luger. The Great Muta, during his excursion to the United States, was under the tutelage, and again, just more for tightening up his game. In the United States under Matsuda, Ron Simmons, and Big Scott Hall, Razor Ramon himself. So that's a lot. That's a lot of guys to, and I'm sure there's probably a myriad of other guys that were trained by Matsuda, maybe scared out of the business by Matsuda. He's been described as sinister and cruel in the, and like he's a guy that broke Hogan's leg to see if he was going to come back. And legitimately, anytime I saw him on television, when he would make appearances in NWA and WCW, whatever it was, like it just kind of like a cold stare, and like it just looked like you were always somebody was always in trouble and ready to get a backhand and put into a chokehold by Hiro Matsuda. So because of the star power alone, and because of his sort of hard-nosed style that he taught these guys, I think Matsuda is primed to be on this team for sure.
I'm more familiar with him as a trainer than I am as a wrestler. So can you like shed light? Was he ever like a big name, big star anywhere?
So they would have used him. He was tight with Eddie Graham, so they would have used him in Florida, and he would have been just like a foreign heel that I think he teamed with like Pak Song, and they would wrestle whoever Dusty Rhodes. If it was Dusty Rhodes and Andre the Giant for a weekend, it would be against the foreign heel team, Matsuda and Pak Song. If there's a comparison, a direct comparison, he is the Minoru Suzuki of his time.
Okay.
If I think the only other territory that I've seen him wrestle in, he might have done a little bit in Texas for Fritz von Erich.
Did he not work Japan much?
Ironically, his name doesn't come up much for Japan because he was based out of the States.
Okay.
So he had that job as the trainer and helping basically like Eddie Graham prepare guys for his territory. And I don't think maybe like very early in his career, he might've worked, in the early Japan promotion before it split New Japan, All Japan. So he would have been in contemporary with Inoki and Baba. But even then, like, they were still wrestling into the 90s. And Matsuda had long retired. I think Matsuda hung it up around, 83 or 84. So
the only reason that I asked that is because now we're getting into the starting five, and I'm looking at the names on this list, and what's coming to mind is you tie all this star power to these guys.
Yeah.
When the guys themselves were never the biggest names or stars.
Those who can't do teach.
And that's a fascinating fascinating thing when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you would think that if you know, what you're doing and how to get over and how to work, and you're a star on television, you would want to pass the legacy down. But it seems as if those guys hold on to it the tightest.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guys who are great in the ring and can make everyone else look good are the ones that make the stars not only in the ring but behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah. That's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, I just did say like those who can't teach, those who can't do teach, and historically, as the old story goes, you mentioned Ric Flair before because he was trained by Vern. And Vern's probably off this list. I would say Vern was like the most, the guy who went furthest.
Yes.
Multi-time world heavyweight champion, ran one of the biggest promotions in the country for decades. But Vern trained Ric Flair, right? Now you would think like Ric Flair is the type of guy that like if he opened a training school, how great would the guys be that trained at Ric Flair's feet, right?
Yeah.
Ric Flair trained one man for pro wrestling. And I'm going to put an allegedly around this. And that one man was Sweet Stan Lane.
Okay.
Because Ric Flair liked to hang around at Stan Lane in Florida because Stan Lane, he hung out with hot girls.
Yeah, well,
and
naturally.
Stan Lane was like, hey, you want to train me for pro wrestling? And Flair was like, as long as you let me hang around these girls and live the party life down here with you at the same time, I'll show you a thing or two in pro wrestling. And that was the one guy. It's also like when you think about it, like the guys that the top stars, when would they have time to open a wrestling school?
True.
If you got over to a point, you're on the road, all this time. Even when you retire, like you're still at the forefront and in the consciousness.
Yeah.
So,
and not only that, like the guys that are at the top, they hang on to that as long as possible.
Ric Flair,
for example, a guy that died in the ring.
yeah.
during his last match. So, at this point, what good is he to train anybody? Because unless he's teaching them how to drink beers and hit on waitresses, I don't think they're going to learn too much from him.
Well, I mean, listen, everybody needs a mentor. Let's talk about the next guy on our starting lineup here.
All right, number 4, we've got Lord.
Thank you,
Stephen William Regal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's an interesting one because there are not a ton of guys that from, as you said earlier, from soup to nuts are trained from the start of their career to the end of their career, or to the end of their training. However, there are huge number of the guys who went through the Performance Center, or guys like Chris Hero and Bryan Danielson, who will credit William Regal with being their trainer.
Yes.
Whether or not he did, everything from start to finish, he is responsible for putting at least the finishing touch and rounding out a lot of the top talents that we see today. I'm trying to think of like a comparison for it, because it's not as if, if you're in the kitchen, you have the sous chef who is this is the guy that he puts the garnish, he plates it, and this is the final product that you're going to get put in front of you at a Michelin star restaurant. And he is responsible for many of the Michelin star wrestlers that we see today or have seen for the past 20 years.
Yeah. I think he's your professor in a master's degree program. He's the guy that's like, I came here with an education. I went through my 12 years of regular schooling to get to this point, to finish college. Now I want to get my master's degree. Regal's the guy you get your master's degree from, so that you can prove that you are the best in-ring worker. And again, you mentioned Danielson, you mentioned Chris Hero. Moxley is also a guy who gives Regal a lot of credit for bringing him along down in FCW. There's a lot of names that just sort of like that had a chance, like when he wasn't on the road in WWF and he's in Memphis helping Memphis out. And he's just, again, that's where Dragon met him. And he's running seminars, and it's, you get like, a week with Regal, or you get like 3 months with Regal, whatever it was. Like you're sort of like bringing in the best of the best to teach you, just so that you've got more in your toolkit going forward to become huge stars. Interesting enough, it was originally on my notes. He is a pupil himself of one of the most famous sort of all-around catch-as-catch programs, and that's the Snake Pit in Wigan in England. Okay. And that's where, like, again, a lot of the World of Sport guys in the 70s and 80s, like, they all went through Wigan. It's a shooter school. Carl Gotch started it. Billy Robinson was an instructor there and trained there. Minoru Suzuki. And Regal was one of those guys that came out of that program. So he's a byproduct of that program. And he's basically like, he's one of the main professors of sports entertainment and pro wrestling. He still does it to this day. He's involved with the guys and the girls down in NXT. So I'm sure they get their chance. Like, and he probably doesn't roll around in the ring with them anymore, but I'm sure he gets the chance to say, like, hey, let's lock up and let me put you in this hold and see if you can get out. Yeah. And a lot of that stuff is just, it may be lost to time, but I think, like, if he is still doing that to a certain extent, then they're still getting A+ training from one of the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Danielson telling a story. I don't know if it was on a shoot interview or whatever, but he was doing the camps with William Regal, and Regal gifted him his wrestling boots.
Sure. Yeah.
Which was his signature look for years, the maroon trunks with the maroon boots. Yeah. And he changed his gear because William Regal gave him those boots, and he was like, this is like, I'm wearing royalty on my feet. I have to, like, this is just part of me now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this is the guy that passed down. He was trained elsewhere, but this is the guy that gave me the most knowledge. And this is how I became who I am.
And again, it's also the blessing of somebody that, like, it's going to be hard to find somebody that's more respected in wrestling than Lord Steven William Regal, for sure. So that's a good addition to our starting roster here. Number 3, I'm going with the Professor Boris Malenko, not only a great trainer, father of Dean and Joe Malenko. So his son's 1, 2, 3 kid came through Boris Malenko, Buddy Landell. He did train Bob Orton, Barry Horowitz, Latin Heartthrob Al Perez, Mark Merrow, and Kane, who was mentioned before. So that's a myriad of people that either Malenko had started out or, again, was brought in as a kind of a brush-up teacher. He's an interesting character because I don't know if I've seen much of him in the ring as a worker, but he's a fascinating manager. The great Malenko, or Professor Boris Malenko, again, another guy that was in and out of Florida territories, ran ICW for a while, or was partnered with I think the Pafos and ICW. So, like, yeah, you kind of have to dig to see some of the footage of Boris Malenko as a manager, but just to think of, again, that's that's a myriad of guys that have skills. And some of the guys, like somebody like Bob Orton or Barry Horowitz, who are talked about, and even Dean Malenko, that are talked about as they could wrestle anybody in any style and they would have a great match with a broomstick. The precision of some and the crispness of some of the moves that these guys had. 1, 2, 3 Kid, I think, for like, he famously, like, Boris Malenko passed away in 96 or 97, and 1, 2, 3 Kid's like wrestling in, like, you know, he's wrestling at like Slamboree as part of the NWO, and he's like, I need time off. Like, I have to go to Boris Malenko's funeral. That was my teacher, and he was like practically my father. So there's a lot of there was a lot of reverence for Boris Malenko as well. But just to see the amount of talent and the varying degrees of you know, good workers and good promo guys that came out of his stable is it's kind of fascinating when you think about it.
Yeah, and I'm honestly, I'm not too familiar with Boris himself, and I wasn't really aware of the tree that he passed down, other than Dean, and 1, 2, 3 Kid, Sean Waltman.
Yeah. Pretty, and again, like, you're not looking at these guys and saying like these are world heavyweight champions or these are pay-per-view main eventers, but there's a lot of good hands that come out of the, you know, that come out of it. And like, he might be like the grandfather of creating, he might be the creator of the most underrated guys in the history of pro wrestling. Yeah, for sure. The patron saint of the underrated wrestler.
The names on there they speak for themselves, I would say, in the ring anyway.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Hit me with another one. Getting close to, so we got 2 left.
Number 2, Stu Hart in the Hart Dungeon.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the obvious 600
brothers.
Yeah. Other than 900
Ross Hart.
Hearts.
Remember, he trained Bruce Hart for pro wrestling.
Yes. So, take that with a grain of salt.
Yep.
But I mean, the Hart Family Dungeon, and Stampede Wrestling, in general, some guys other than Brett, Owen, and the rest of the family, Abdul the Butcher,
crazy,
Bad News Brown, Billy Jack Haynes, Fritz von Erich, Greg Valentine, and then you get the finishing touches on guys like Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. You also get Davey Boy, Dynamite Kid. I mean, the list, when you go through the list of the guys that went through the dungeon, it's pretty crazy. I mean, even to the point where Natalia, Tyson Kidd, so many guys. I don't know that this is 100% accurate, but they credit Roddy Piper with being trained by Stu Hart.
Because he lived in the family house.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's
Billy Graham.
Names.
Yeah.
Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Mark Henry.
Yeah. Liger.
Liger. It's like a Gorilla Monsoon. And not to say Gorilla Monsoon is any sort. If you're running through the Canadian territories, you're making a pit stop at the dungeon.
Sure, and you're letting Stu stretch you.
Yeah, he's tying you up into a pretzel.
I love one of my favorite scenes in Beyond the Mat. No, it's not Beyond the Mat. It's the Wrestling with Shadows. Is when they're downstairs, and Brett's talking about, and he hears screaming, and Brett's talking about like, oh, my dad's downstairs and he's just he's putting somebody through the paces, and then they go downstairs, and Stu's got somebody, and it might have been somebody that was, you know, just a trainee, but he's got him in a sugar hold, and he's like got his face in the mat, in the carpet, just pushing in and then stretching him from the back. And David Hartsmith or Harry is like standing in the corner, and there's like, I think Steve Blackman is in like one of the shots too, because Steve Blackman trained down there. And it's like, this is such a scene. Like, this is literally this torture chamber, and there's a little 9-year-old boy standing here watching, waiting to be next. Which is great. I mean, that in a nutshell, that's that Hart family. But it's, yeah, I mean, Stu was still, he was very omnipresent when it came to, he handed the business off, and the sons who weren't superstars, they ended up like running the school, and there's probably still a family affiliation somewhere in Canada with it. But like Stu's training itself, it's always described as, if you got good enough that you could get booked in Calgary, your next step was to spend, you know, a few weeks, months, or a year, you know, going back to Stu for more training.
And an interesting part of it is a lot of it was down in the dungeon, where you're not even seeing a wrestling ring.
No, you're on that little carpet, that little mat. Yeah.
On mats on the floor. So it's the talent that he produced out of going from there to getting into the ring is astronomical. He's
also, we didn't really touch on this other than Eddie Sharkey. I think he was, and maybe Vern to a certain extent, but he was very much like I'm not just going to teach you how to wrestle pro style. You're going to learn amateur holds. You're going to learn how to defend yourself just in case something goes wrong in the ring. You're going to know how to reverse that and stretch somebody to a point where if they're attacking you, you've now turned the tables with your body. Weight training, physical fitness. Guys, again, you talk about some of the guys that were kind of in and out, like that had great, like Brett always had like great wind in the ring and could wrestle a long match. Greg Valentine's another guy that could he could give you 45 minutes nonstop in the ring, whether it was fast paced or not is another story, but that could still have the energy and the stamina, and they're not getting gassed out within 10 minutes and blown up. Stu was one of those guys that taught the young talent how to do that and how to stay above fray with their physical training and conditioning.
I mean, an all-timer. And the dungeon is, I mean, still talked about today as
legendary.
Like one of the harshest training facilities you could learn at.
Yes. I think that there was another story that, like, before they settled in Canada, I think the family, well, he was originally from Canada, but I think he was traveling the country, and he did have some property in New Jersey at some point during his life, and I think it was in Asbury Park. I might be wrong about that, or it's something on the East Coast. So you put that wrinkle in your brain that Stu Hart could have been a New York or New Jersey guy.
So we could have went to the dungeon.
We could have with the vacation dungeon maybe. Yeah. his shore dungeon. That's a tough one. Shore dungeon. So the final spot, the number one spot on our list, is training academy, school, promotion, Island of Misfit Toys, whatever you want to call it. We actually covered this in an episode a little over a year ago.
Oh shit! Yeah,
our beloved Ohio Valley Wrestling, at one point run by Danny Davis, Nightmare Danny Davis, James E. Coronet, and the infamous current trainer Al Snow himself. Again, when you talk about like the little engine that still keeps I see Instagram posts almost all the time, or see them on like Reddit Squared Circle. Like the shows in Ohio Valley still get advertised, and they still promise to train the stars of the future. They still have their little TV show, not the reality show, but their little local TV show. But it's for pro wrestling trainees for 20 years. That place has been a hot spot. 20 plus years, I should say. And you know, everybody from Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista got a shine there. Shelton Benjamin, through to Cody, through to Punk got that tune-up training just before television. The Miz, soup to nuts with The Miz. A ton of women that probably would have known nothing about pro wrestling. I know it's in the Divas era, but there's still Beth Phoenix came out of that program. So they had a ton of talented people that came in through Ohio Valley Wrestling, and just the amount of household names is enough you can build a card from people, and it's a WrestleMania card with people that went through Ohio Valley Wrestling, worked with the individual trainers and the promoters, learned television, learned backstage, and this was also like, you're thinking like right out of the Attitude Era, right into that Ruthless Aggression era, and these people were developing catchphrases in OVW that they would have for the rest of their career. They're forming tag teams that they would have for the rest of their career, down in that little program. And as I said, it still keeps Hollywood Haley J. Say what you want. She is working a lot of places.
Yeah. No, she is.
And she may never make WWE or AEW, but I think as a working independent wrestler, it all starts with where you get your start and where you get your training in. Yeah. And if that's Al Snow and all of his miserable faces and grumpiness that he's got, if that's his one calling card that he can say, hey, I prepared future stars for the business, then we got to give props to Al Snow and, again, his predecessor, Danny Davis.
100%. And I mean, this was the true first developmental system that WWE ever put in place. Where
it was a true feeder promotion, we'll just say.
Yeah. Where they were like doing, I wouldn't say talent exchanges, but sending guys down to make the next guys. And Danny Davis and Jim Cornette had, I would say, the biggest influence on that. And Al Snow kind of took over once the promotion was disassociated with the WWE.
Right.
But regardless of who was running it, it's still something that people talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're training people still. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're doing it. And it's a name that it's the only independent promotion. When you say those three letters, you immediately go, oh, you mean the WWE guys?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because other promotions, it wasn't a training facility to get you somewhere else. It was just a promotion that WWE wound up cherry picking people from.
Right.
As opposed to signing guys, sending them there to learn.
Right.
Until they're ready for the call up.
That first wave of developmental contracts in the late 90s, early 2000s. Again, we're talking about Cena's, the Ortons, the Batistas, all those developmental, all those contracts were, the effort was, all right, let's get these guys TV ready. And there are a bunch of a bunch of misses that
Oh, yeah.
probably should have been like ready for TV. I think the Bashams made it on television and had a decent run with the SmackDown tag belts. But like, if you were to say like, look at that first class, a lot of people would have said like, well, Doug Basham is going to be ready for television. Like he's
100%. He was
he's
their
great.
guy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
Damager.
Ended up being Danny Basham or whatever.
But like one of them was their world champion for like in an era when Randy Orton, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar were there.
Yes, exactly. Right.
He was the champion,
and that's
so it's like
that's the I think that's the slept on part, is that not only did they have those big successes, but they still had a million fallbacks that they could still run a company based off of the guys that did not get hand selected as the first wave of signees that got moved up to the big show. So it's whether they have an affiliation. I think they had an affiliation with TNA for a little while, and that's probably gone by the wayside. But the Outrunners came from a stint with OVW. What was the Lila Gray? Who's up with AEW? Like she came from their training academy and their training school. So you're not seeing the velocity of people graduating OVW or leaving OVW and going right to like a big contract, like you may have seen 20 years ago or 25 years ago. But the few that do usually will credit and say, hey, we got our start with Ohio Valley Wrestling, and they credit Al, and they credit the way that promotion puts out content and puts out talent, more or less.
Yeah.
And props to them for sticking around and staying with it, because believe me, there was a million training facilities that went tits up in the 2000s and the early 2010s because everybody was getting itchy to go to WWE and be in the NXT program and work at the Performance Center. And this is the only way to get into the business for real, is to do that. And for them to still be around and still be kicking is certainly a big credit to them. Was there any other, just give me two more honorable mentions that you want to give a little bit of a shout out to?
Two guys I had on my original list, but didn't quite make it. Harley Race and Johnny Rods. Two guys synonymous with big names. I mean, Harley is a legend. Johnny Rods, not so much. But two guys that did a great job of passing the buck down with what they did in the business.
Yeah. I wanted to figure out a way to get Lance Storm and his Storm Wrestling Academy noticed, because I was looking at his, and again, you talk about modern era people and female talent. He deserves a lot of credit for the amount of female talent that went through his Storm Wrestling Academy, and Les Thatcher's another guy. He never he had that what was it, Heartland Wrestling in Ohio, and they were developmental, and they got a chance to get the runoff from OVW in the mid to late 2000s. And then he ran Deep South Wrestling, but again, if you look him up, like he's got a ton of talent that he trained, and he's another guy that like was a low level worker, helped booking in Smoky Mountain, was a color commentator for Smoky Mountain, and then took to training and really had a good run as a trainer. So there's our list. There's our dream team. Arguments and comments are welcome. Feel free to drop them in the comments section. Hit us up on social media. If we missed anything from the list, you find us at D-Kick Basement on most of those platforms. And anything else before we get out of here, Tom?
No, I'm just looking forward to a big summer of wrestling that we're gonna be experiencing, and maybe we'll see you at the beach.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So there's Tom giving us a little bit of a teaser, but we will certainly look forward to the rest of wrestling in the summertime. And on behalf of my tag team partner, Tom, this is Mike. We hope you have a great night, and we will see you at the matches.